small bird in big world.
Hello, everybody. I am Lavali, the Rito champion and the savior of high.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Wait. This isn't even the right model. Hold on. Let's see. What is the biggest ego? Sort by ego. List biggest. There we go. Hello, everybody. My name is Sean Chiplock. You may know me as a professional voice actor. I also go by Sonic Mega online. It's a pleasure to see all of you. And I'm here joining you all on Furality for the very first VR experience of my life, and it's in the form of a Q&A panel. So thank you guys very much for having me. Anyone else we want to introduce before I talk a little bit about myself, or?
Well, thank you so much for joining us. If you have questions for Sean, please ask them in the special channel we've created in the Discord server or on Twitch.
Yes.
But
and,
thank you so much for joining us.
No, thank you for having me. For those of you who aren't familiar, like I said, I am a professional voiceover artist. I have been living in California since about 2012, summertime. And I have been doing this I started in 2007, but I started doing it full-time professionally in 2013, and I have been so humbled by the opportunities that I've had so far. As you may know me as the voices of Revali, Teba, and the Great Deku Tree in The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Recently I got to announce that I was Diluc, what was it, the Dark Knight of Mondstadt or something like that, or I think it's something like that. In Genshin Impact, Subaru Natsuki in ReZero, Season 2 has been airing throughout the last couple of months, and I'm super proud of my stuff in that. Kiyotaka Ishimaru in Danganronpa, or as I like to call it, Dang It Roomba. What else? What's the other really big one? There's always one that I forget. Hummel and East 8 members. Guido Mista and all 6 of his bullets in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Golden Wind, which just wrapped up. So, yeah. But I'm very happy to be doing this professionally. I'm super happy to be able to interact with communities like this, whether it's, through fan art or just interactive events like this. And it's something I hope to be able to do for the rest of my life. So thank you for having me, and I hope I can answer all of your burning questions in the process.
Yeah, well, without further ado, let's get started, shall we? So...
Exactly. A cough.
Okay. So we've got a few questions here from Discord. I've got a lot of people asking, when and where did you start with voice acting? And if you could give one essential piece of advice for aspiring voice actors that they don't typically hear, what would it be?
Don't. So that's not going to make a lot of sense until I extrapolate. And I'm answering the second part of your question first. But when a lot of people say, what's the main thing I need to know in order to become a voice actor? And when I say the word don't, the whole point is how you respond to that question. Because if I say don't and you go, oh, well, okay then I've already saved you the trouble of trying to get into voiceover and all the time and effort and cost and stress and rejection. Whereas if your response to don't is, why would you say that? Or that's not what I'm looking for, then you might be on the right track. And the reason for that is because voiceover is one of those crafts where you spend a lot more time working for free than you do getting paid. To give an idea of what my daily routine consists of, there have been, over the last month and a half, there have been more days where my first session starts at 9 a.m. I have auditions in between these sessions, and my free time starts at 11:30 p.m. And that has happened multiple days in a row. And in all of those cases, when it comes to auditions, when it comes to workshops, these are things that I have to pursue on my own time. Once I have shown the talent and the skill set necessary to get picked up by like an agency or to get in with a studio, then sure, they may send auditions to me, but I'm responsible for sending in those auditions by the deadline. I'm the one responsible for going online to like freelance sites and looking for jobs that I might be able to apply to. Voiceover is often likened to being permanent temp unemployment, because you are only employed once you book a job. And then once that job is done, there is no guarantee of having future employment with that client. In fact, it is a common knowledge within the industry that as a voice actor, you should always have an unemployment claim open with your state, because on those weeks when you don't have any work, you can file for unemployment or file for unemployment payment. And that's just how it is. That's just how it works. Another good example is the pandemic. When the pandemic hit, things swapped very, very rapidly to where studios started reaching out to people saying, what's your home setup like? Are you able to record from home? And most voice actors have home studio setups that are fine for recording auditions, but are not the quality necessary for broadcast, because studios don't care. They're like, if we hire them, we're going to bring them into the studio, we're going to use our equipment, it doesn't matter if their audition isn't crystal clear. But that wasn't the case once the pandemic hit. So over the course of a month and a half, I had to scramble to make $3,500 worth of upgrades to my home studio for no other reason than hopefully clients will find it good enough to let me work from home. Now, it worked out in my favor, but I can tell you right now, most voice actors just starting out don't have that kind of money sitting around. So I could go on about this for another 10 minutes, but I want to make sure we get to other questions. The whole point is, voiceover and the craft of growing as an actor requires so much practice, so much time, so much effort, so much money. I keep getting off my chair because I'm so, like, invested in this. That unless, if there's anything else that you would rather be doing, that you would rather be spending your time on, just go do that instead. And I say this from a position of almost Stockholm Syndrome, because there are times when I have woken up and my throat feels like garbage because it's worn out from the week, or I don't feel good about an audition I did, and I think, as a professional, I go, I hate this. I hate all of this. This sucks. But I know in my heart that if I were to just, quote-unquote, I want to make air quotes with my hand, but I don't have a VR headset. Darn it. I know that if I just quit voiceover, within, like, a month, I would feel guilty about what auditions I missed out on or what things I might have been able to become a part of. And it would eat away at me. So voiceover is one of those things where I'm not just in this because I enjoy doing it. I'm in this because I physically cannot conceptualize not doing it. And that's the kind of mindset I think you need to have to thrive in a craft like this, because that passion will play just as much into giving authentic, genuine performances as it will into keeping you enthusiastic and invigorated and interested, even when you deal with rejection time after time. And I totally forgot what the first half of that question was. Was it how I got into voiceover?
Yes.
Neopets and Adult Swim. The short story of that is I was extremely bored, and I was doing my dailies in Neopets. Thank you, thedailyneopets.com, for all of your service. And I was getting really ticked off at Adult Swim because they had this advertisement series using this pastel neon character who would just wobble around the screen going, AdultSwim.com! It's cool! You should check it out! Go to it right now! AdultSwim.com! And, like most average people, when something ticks you off, the first thing you should do is do what it says. So I went to the website, and I got to see a behind-the-scenes video that had Troy Baker, back when he did anime. Oh my gosh, I feel old now. Recording as Abel Nightroad for an upcoming episode of Trinity Blood. And seeing someone in the booth talking at the same time that the character's lip flaps were moving is what introduced me to what voiceover was in the first place. And it was one of those moments where it's like, I have no idea what this is, but I want to be a part of it. And that's when I just started getting invested in the first place. So that's where it all started, was December 27th of 2006.
Oh, wow. Cool. Thank you for that. Okay, so we've got a few more questions. It looks like a lot of people are asking kind of the general, what is your favorite gig that you've done, or what is your favorite character that you've played as, or that you've voice acted for?
Oh man. So I'm gonna switch avatars for this one, because one of the things I tell people is I try to find something about every single role that I do to be proud of, whether it's a new milestone that I accomplished, or a challenge that I overcame, or something that I knew that I was gonna knock out of the park to begin with, and I got to just showcase myself. But if I had to pick just one that I am super, super proud of, don't mind the man selling taquitos outside of my apartment right now. It would be Subaru from ReZero, and that was because my career path has been a lot different from a lot of my colleagues, where a lot of my colleagues have much more extensive anime role portfolios. I kind of veered off into video games, and Subaru was the first time that I had been entrusted with a major role. Not just a major, but the lead role in a series that pretty much operates off of this character. There are sets of 4 episodes in ReZero where Subaru's line count is higher than the combined total of every other character who speaks in those 4 episodes. And what a first impression to have to make as a lead role. Like, Subaru goes from, super intense to very quiet to, like, top of his lungs screaming to choking to death on his own blood. And it was one of those cases where I'd seen the series ahead of time and I knew the challenge that was facing me, but I also knew that I had what it took to accomplish it. And for those of you who are watching season 2 right now, if you weren't already aware, there's one episode out right now, episode 33, which has the rabbit scene. For those of you who don't know and feel like spoiling yourselves, you can look up the rabbit scene ReZero on Google. I did that entire segment in one take. And it's like 45 seconds straight of just constant blood-curdling, high-pitched screaming for his life. And there's another episode that hasn't come out yet. I think it's episode 13 of season 2, where he breaks down crying and has like 3 different levels of crying that he does in the same string. And I can say with certainty, because I recorded for it earlier this week, that I also did that in one take. So I'm so proud of the work that I did on this series in general, and I'm very excited for that. I'm excited for the game coming out, and I hope people will check it out. But just, like I said, part of what feeds into staying interested in voiceover, and part of why I enjoy the craft so much, is it's not like your typical 9 to 5. There's always a different challenge. Characters may share archetypes, they may share personalities, but their motivations are different. The world is different. The context is different. And so every time I step into the booth, it's not time for more of the same. It's what am I going to be asked to do today, and what can I do to accomplish that? And that helps me so much with, like, keeping myself, stimulated, keeping myself focused, finding new ways to entertain myself. And that's how I find pride in each of my roles, because it's something new that I have to overcome. And whether it's easy or whether it's difficult, I have faith in myself and the team working with me that I can pull it off in order to bring entertainment to all of you.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I that rabbit scene was absolutely insane. And this question can kind of tap into that a little bit. We've got a question here from Moonsy. What are some vocal exercises you recommend for people who want to widen their vocal ranges?
So this is probably going to be amazing for people in this fandom, because I've partied with y'all. I know how y'all are. But raspberries will actually help open up your throat. Find your song that you like really singing along to, and just... So, like, I'm trying to think of a song that most people would know. I don't know. What's one of your favorite songs?
Oh, God.
Any of y'all.
Owl City's Fireflies.
There you go.
There we go.
Absolutely amazing.
No, I'm dead serious. This is how you
No,
warm
no,
up.
I didn't say stop. What are you doing?
Oh, okay.
I'm kidding.
What happens there is the vibration it causes on your lips is the vibration of on your lips from your tongue. Doing that kind of helps get the muscles warmed up and wakes them up, and it helps get them flexible, get them ready to be moved around when you're performing. It's also not as intense as outright singing or belting out, because you're not tugging at your entire throat, you're just resting your tongue between your lips and blowing air. It also helps open up your vocal cords, or open up your trachea, because you are pushing air out through an enclosed space. Your tongue is blocking most of the way out of your mouth, so it's hard to describe this. There's a method for this that involves using, like, vocal straws. But what happens is, when you're not immediately pushing all of the air out of your face, the air that's stuck in your mouth kind of circulates, like when you turn on circulation in your car. And some of that air pushes back against your throat. And it basically brings your throat into an equilibrium that helps even out your vocal cords and gets them all aligned and stuff. So that helps you warm up. Humming works. You know, if you're singing in the car and you're driving to somewhere, you can hum just like doing your scales, doing your ladders. For some people, drinking hot drinks can help soothe it. Your mileage may vary with that one. But no different than if you're singing. Honestly, physical exercises. When I worked at Disney California Adventure, which did involve a fair amount of vocal performance, they had us do like yoga exercises as well, because a lot of voiceover, you know, if you're a method actor like I am, you're going to take different poses. You're going to, you know, when you're trying to be a superhero, you're going to puff out your chest. If you're trying to be someone who's like a gang member, you're going to like, you know, cock your wrist and kind of like tilt your head to the side like you're being sly. If you want to like embody those poses, you got to make sure that you can remain flexible. So we've done all sorts of physical stuff as well.
Gotcha. Let's see. What do we got next here? So I've got a question here from Tatterwing. What is the next venture that you're hopeful to have, and why? If you're able to share something with us.
You mean like venture in terms of voiceover, or?
Venture in terms of like voiceover, voice acting, next gig perhaps.
So, let me mute my phone real quick. There are 2 projects that I cannot talk about yet, but I am very, 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 very excited to get to share with people. One is because it is a vocal or a voice type that most people do not know me for. Like, a lot of people were very surprised when Mortal Kombat came out, or Mortal Kombat 11.
And I got to announce that I was the voice of Noob Saibot.
But this is one of those rare cases where most people hear me talking this high-pitched, enthusiastic voice.
But this time around, I got to be someone who's very sly and very calm.
And it's gonna throw people for a loop, and I'm very excited. There is a second role that I'm trying to think of how best to describe it. I'm just gonna be vague. It's something that means a lot to a lot of my friends, and I'm getting to play a named role in it. And so I'm very excited to get to embrace that part of the franchise. And it's so hard to be able to talk about these things when you're still under NDA. So that's really all I can say about it. But what I tell people is keep tabs on my Twitter, which is Sonic Mega. As soon as I'm able to announce anything, that's the first place I say anything. But once that news comes out, I'll be totally public about it. I'll answer any questions you have about it that I'm allowed to answer. I think the other part of that was other ventures. Oh, I've told people for a long time. I don't know if anyone here on the staff is familiar with Etrian Odyssey. But Etrian Odyssey is one of my favorite dungeon crawler series of all time. And my life goal, my dream, is that I will be able to be in a future Etrian Odyssey dub as just a male voice type. I don't even have to be a story mode character, but if I can be like one of the male voice types you pick when you create a character, so like when they attack they go ha, or like when they use an item they're like here, use this. It would make my year. It would make my life. So that's my goal. If any of you are in touch with people who work on that series, pitch me.
Well, hopefully they hear this. But let's see. We've got another question here this is Killer Girls. Do you have a favorite voice line from playing as Shin in oh god, I can't even pronounce this. Dorohedoro.
Oh yes, Dorohedoro. I love Shin. I refer to him as Dark Future Lucas. He's my favorite. Oh man. So that was a long enough time ago that I don't remember everything that he says, but like there was a line that the company actually said, you know, what if that was when they said what if characters were described by tweets written by their voice actors. I don't know, I just remember like the scene where he gets into a fight with a guy and he's like, please don't fight with me, don't piss me off, and the guy comes after him, so he just launches his hand and his fist through the other guy's chest and he's like, I told you this wasn't gonna end well for you. And it's just like, I love that kind of calm confidence where he doesn't make a big deal out of ramming his entire arm through someone's chest cavity. It's just like, I warned you, bro. I warned you about fisticuffs. Chat's freaking out a little bit right now. I was Sheen in Dorohedoro. It was my first gig that I had with that studio. I think it was the same studio that did Beastars, so that's kind of my 2 degrees of separation from Jonah Scott.
Which, by the way, speaking of Jonah Scott, he was in Twitch chat for a tiny bit.
Wait. I see Gravedigger is asking, can you do any Call of Duty impressions? I can, in fact. Hold on, but I need to have the right avatar for this. All right, here we go. You guys ready for this? This is my Call of Duty impression. How was that?
That's perfect.
Absolutely
Excellent.
perfect.
There you go. All right, next question.
Let's see. We've got a question here from Hayes. Do you have a dream character, or like someone that you really want to do voice acting for one day? Is there a certain character in particular that you really want to, I guess, get the role for?
I would love to be, like I said, in Etrian Odyssey. I would love to voice even a minor role in Beastars. I want them to relocalize Solitarobo, and I want to voice Red. No, there's better voices for Red, but somebody in Solitarobo. Let me think. What else am I looking forward to, or would I like to be a part of? I try not to like do wishful thinking like this a lot, because then it kind of opens itself up to bitterness and jealousy. But I don't know. Maybe when they finally release when they finally announce the Gen 4 remakes for Pokemon, maybe those will have voice acting, and I can be something in there. I want to be Volkner. I know that's kind of like, what's the word? Greedy, because I already voiced Nanu and Seabold in Pokemon Masters. But a guy can dream. I want to be the Luxray man.
Gotcha.
Hold on,
let's see
Goggles
here.
the Human. Hold on, Goggles the Human says, I want to hear this man sing. Fighting gold, those are the only words I know. Sorry, that's it. That's all you get.
Absolutely beautiful. Let me see. So we've got a question here from Sketch Foxkey. How was it working on Team Danganronpa? Having voiced 2 characters in complete different ranges in the same series, how did you adjust your tone per character?
Okay, so first of all, I want everyone to know that I don't speak on behalf of everyone, but I know at least a couple people who recorded for this game and were like, this was a fun little niche game that no one's gonna ever hear about, and we had no idea. We had no idea how big that series was going to get in the West. We were unprepared for what Tumblr was going to reap upon our souls. It was quite the experience. It was also interesting voicing both Kiyotaka and Monotaro, because Kiyotaka was an example of earlier in my career where my range wasn't as wide as I would consider it to be right now. So I was just operating straight out of my wheelhouse. As you guys can probably hear right now, I'm very good at being loud and a little bit obnoxious. And so playing a straight-laced character like Kiyotaka Ishimaru was very easy. I just had to be very focused and have my eyes, focused the entire time and raise my volume by 50%. My name is Kiyotaka Ishimaru. I hope you'll join me in my educational crusade. So it was very just right in my wheelhouse. I didn't have to change very much. And it was easy to get in character for that. Monotaro was a part where I developed his character by adapting the voice I had for a different character. So I'm hoping at least some of you here from the Fur fandom will recognize these characters, but way back when, I used to do these voices for 2 characters named Sheen and Fatigue for this series called Bedfellows. And fun fact, Sheen actually was my inspiration for, or I used his voice as a base for Teba from Breath of the Wild. Because I'm gonna wait for my double introduction to go away.
I am Teba, hero of the Rito.
Anyway, so
Sheen is just like angry all the time. He's just mad and he hates everything in his life.
and I was like, Sheen's kind of like Teba, except Sheen takes his anger, or his gruffness comes from anger and vengefulness, whereas Teba is more like concern and bitterness because he wasn't able, he lost his ancestor to Windblight Ganon. So I said,
what if I take the anger that Sheen has, and I just made it solemnness instead? And that's how I came up with the voice of Teba.
And that was really cool. On the other hand,
When I have fatigue, someone who's very joyous, who's very, exciting and everything else, for Monotaro, all I did was I took the slight British accent that Fatigue has, and I took the accent away so that he's he's using a regular American accent instead of English, and then I make him just a little more staccato. I don't make him sound like he's all there, like he might be a puppet being operated by strings.
and that's how you got the voice for Monotaro. So it was a case of how by taking an established character voice and just changing one or two small things about it, whether it's an accent or how you deliver the words, you can create an entirely separate character.
Oh wow, cool.
Okay.
I know we're gonna switch over to Twitch chat here. Sorry.
Can I ask a
Speaking of which,
question?
while since we're
Yeah,
switching
let's
over to
find
Twitch
out
chat, let's vominos over here. We'll take a nice little. I wish you could sit on these. Does this work if I crouch? Does
Yes.
it look like I'm sitting on this if I crouch? No, that doesn't work. How does it? Does this look
Sean,
bad?
you are a charger.
Come a little forward.
crouch on
If,
top
maybe you
of
can
it?
get on top. Who knows?
Yeah. Let's try it. Let's try that. Beep. There you go. Now I just look like I'm like posing for like. That doesn't work. Here, entirely separate character.
Operated by strings.
Now I just look like I'm like
Do you mind if I ask a
Yeah,
question?
go ahead.
Oh, what'd you do, Flamey? For your career in what's wrong, Flamey? Is this you're okay? Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you.
For your career in voice acting and stuff like that, how much of it do you think is like a networking with like other voice actors and such like that, and then how much is it is the opposite? It's where you're just alone and solo and practicing, and like what is the balance there entirely, or is there like not a lot of balance there? Is it not even a lot of networking? Like I wouldn't even know.
No. There is a ton of networking involved, and
Good.
it works both ways because networking and referrals can get you like in touch with people you otherwise might not have the chance to interact with. But networking also reflects your behavior and your personality. If you do things that either violate contracts or make people not want to work with you, word spreads very quickly. Like, the voice acting community is a lot smaller than people think it is. And I'm sure anyone that's been like, hey, I see a lot of the same people in a lot of projects together. It's an indication of just how tight-knit the community can be. And I don't mean that in an elitist sense. I mean that everybody looks out for each other. We lift up the people we're supporting, and the people who, like, try to, like, make our industry look... I need to choose my words carefully, because I don't want people to get the wrong impression. If you act in a way that is irresponsible and unprofessional, don't be surprised if people stop wanting to work with you on a grander scale. So let's talk about the positives. So I see myself as someone who I have a lot easier time interacting with communities than with colleagues. Part of that is because of how busy I am, and I'm very grateful for that. Part of that is just because I tend to be very introverted. But the fact is that working with my colleagues has benefits in that it builds a synergy, it builds relationships, and part of putting a cast together is finding those synergies and those vocal chemistries between characters. You know, sometimes the reason why you might not book a character isn't because you weren't a good fit for it, but because you sound too similar to a different actor who's already playing this other character, and they want something that sounds different. But it also leads to cases where, like, sometimes there are projects where an actor's already working on a project and the client will go, hey, do you have anyone in mind for this type of character? Because, we're having trouble getting someone right for the role. The actor might go, oh yeah, so-and-so might be a really good fit for this. There was one time where I had done a project for Nexon. I think it was Hyper Universe or something like that. And I had ended up getting in a conversation with the director about MapleStory, and I was just talking at length about how much a fan I was of MapleStory and all the time I'd spent playing it. And when MapleStory 2 was getting developed and they were holding auditions for the English dub of that, my understanding is someone at Nexon went, hey, you know who we should send auditions to? Chiplock, because he knows this game like the back of his hand. He's always been a really big fan of it. I feel like he could bring some real energy to this project. So that was literally a case where what gave me the chance to audition, and I did book the role. I booked the male berserker in Maple Story 2, was literally just someone from the company going, I feel like Chiplock would do really well with this type of project. Now that's not to say it doesn't involve personal effort as well. Like, people can give you all the opportunities in the world, but if you don't have the skills to back it up, it's gonna go to waste. So the old adage that preparation plus opportunity equals success is very, very true here. What your focus should be on is to like build the network, build the relationships, build your own skill set, and don't try to force opportunities, but just prepare yourself as best you can so that when those opportunities happen, you can give your best effort and give yourself the best chance possible of making something happen.
That's a very good answer.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Mallard over here going, or Brule over here going, man, he wasn't kidding about 5-minute responses. I warned you, bro. I gave you fair warning.
Don't call me out like that on stream. Okay.
No,
So,
I love it.
here's the
I really
question.
appreciate the thorough answer.
So here's the question that was put on hold earlier that you mentioned a funny story about. But were there ever times, this is asked by Blue Boy Blitz on Twitch, was there ever a time that you forget your normal voice?
I got stuck in an accent once when I was driving to my job. I used to work at Stanley Security, and there was one time that I got on the phone with my wife, and this was like at like 10:30 at night, and I'm like, yo, what's going in his house? I'm driving here on the highway, about to go to my job. Just thought I'd say hello and I love you. And like, and she's like, are you having fun over there? And I'm just laughing and like talking to her like that. And then about 10 minutes later, she's like, okay, well, I'm gotta go pretty soon, so I love you, have a good day. Can you say I love you back just as yourself? And I tried. And I couldn't. And we suddenly got very concerned. She's like, all right, cut it out. Like, stop. And I was like, no, I can't. I keep talking like this. I don't understand what's going on. And it took like an extra 15 minutes of just like practicing talking like myself before I stopped falling into like that dialect. And I learned from that experience. So that is probably the only time that I forgot my own voice, but, what's also interesting is I don't even know what my regular voice is, because when I'm very excited, very, enticed by something, my pitch goes way up, and I sound like head voice like this, but, like, if I'm really tired and I'm just kind of, chilling with friends and, like, leaning back, then my voice will go way down into my chest, like, down here, almost kind of like Matt Mercer, and so the difference between sounding like this and sounding like this is like night and day. So if you ask me to say what is my normal voice, I have no idea. I'll just be like,
This is my normal voice. Ask your next question.
Okay, I have another question. Red Seeds, 0001. How did you get into the furry fandom?
so, oh man, there are stories. What's the statute of limitations on impersonating somebody? There's a story behind this.
That is a good question.
So there was a convention in Michigan that doesn't exist anymore. But I had wanted to attend it for a while, just to check it out and see what it was like. And so, a friend was like, "Hey, we're going as members of this forum. Do you want to go with us? We already printed out ID cards and like staff press badges and everything else." And so we we dropped in incognito, and this was back during the time, and I recognize the struggle that you guys have gone through, but this was back during the time when press wasn't really looked at positively. I'm so glad that like we're getting a lot more positive coverage nowadays. But this was back when they didn't really look favorably upon the press, so we weren't able to stay there for very long. But in the time that I spent there, I really enjoyed just seeing the creativity of like the artists in Artist Alley and everyone running around in their cosplay and their OC costumes and their fursuits, and it's just a mix of things. It's for a long while I tried to use my my career as a way of giving back to the community. Whether it's through stuff like Dust and Elysian Tale, or Freedom Planet, where I voiced Spade and Dale, and now, of course, Breath of the Wild. I can't even begin to express my appreciation for the community when it comes to Breath of the Wild and the Rito OCs that I've seen around the internet. And I've also used it to help out with projects that are directly furry related. If any of you are familiar with Clace Husky and the project Winds of Change that came out last year, that was originally going to be a text-only project, and I'm the one who reached out to Clace and said, hey, I don't know if you ever considered adding voiceover or if you have a budget for it, but I would be more than happy to help you out with even like just a basic sound effects, like emotive sound effects. So like when a character has a happy line, they go, something like that, where they're not fully voicing the line. And Clace tried it out and got so enthusiastic about it that he changed the game from being just text to fully voiced, beginning to end. So I helped with the casting of that. I got to voice a few roles in that as well, as both Sovi and Pro. I've helped out with projects like Kemono Mahjong, and a lot of other games that are furry focused. And I really, really enjoy that it gives me the opportunity to not just actively contribute to the community through the projects that I'm a part of, but also get involved with you guys, like whether it's hanging out or going to the conventions or going to the parties. Because I gotta tell you, the drinking floors that you guys have at some of these cons are the best fun I've ever had. It's insane how well you guys know how to party. And just, okay, this is gonna be really weird, but just hear me out. The level of positive male physical interaction that happens within this community is unheard of, just in general. As a guy who has plenty of LGBT friends and LGBT allies, and as a guy who deals with some of the challenges of being male in the first place, the freedom that happens at these conventions when it comes to just having, consensual, active, encouraged, and embraced physical contact, whether it's hugging or cuddling or just, casual petting or something like that, is not something that you see in a lot of society as a whole. And that kind of positivity is so important for the development of men as a whole, and acceptance, not just of LGBT, but anyone on the spectrum, whether they're heteronormative or they identify as non-binary or asexual. It's not all sexual. The physical contact is not all sexual. A lot of it, the majority of it, in fact, is just positive reinforcement behavior. And I have not found that anywhere else, and I encourage it, and I love when I get to partake in it, and I hope that you guys keep practicing it, because it means a lot, and it's a great influence.
That's fantastic. Okay, another one. This one's a fun, easy one. How did you come across... Oh, this is from Dragon Stark, by the way. How did you come across hosting this panel at Furality?
You guys reached out to me. You guys actually asked, would you like to be a part of this panel? And you managed to catch me on one of the only weekends that I had available in the first place. So I was like, hey, why not? I've had people bugging me to try out VR chat before, and I thought, if I can learn the ropes by having someone who's more experienced teach me, here's a free chance to network. This is what I'm talking about. This ties into the previous question when people are asking, like, how important is networking? You need to understand that networking is not about telling people, find me work. It's about building relationships with people who share similar interests, because then you're able to look out for each other. So even from the get-go, the furry fandom is something that I'm interested in. Interacting with fan bases is something that I'm interested in. And clearly you guys had an interest in having someone like me talk about my experience as a voice actor and my experience within the fandom. So here's something already where we could both mutually benefit from interacting with each other. So of course I was interested in helping out. And I hope you guys feel like, we've already developed a sort of connection where we can reach out to each other and say, hey, do you want to be a part of this? Or were you interested in helping out with this down the line? So I always see it as, if I've got the time to spare and it helps me learn something, and it helps me give back to the community, and it makes you guys more interested in including me in the future, why the hell not, Like, if it weren't for audiences and supporters like you guys, my career would not exist. The only reason why English dubs and English localizations of things happen is because the companies on some level go, we believe that including this will allow us to market to a wider audience, or that more people will purchase our product if we include an English dub. So I have you guys to thank as much as I do my own skill set, because if companies thought they could get away without doing that and still make the profit that they want, they wouldn't spend the budget on it. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I
for
can,
sure.
I can take the blame for that one. Just one day on Twitter, I was trying to find guests and people that would be remotely interested in our event, and I was just thinking, like, man, like, Sean's like really into like the community, and we have a bunch of people that are just ginormous fans of him. Let's try to get him. So like I put out a tweet and just I tag him and I'm like, hey, would you like to come to this event? And just thinking maybe this will work, maybe this won't. And immediately, I'm talking like 5 minutes later, I get in a message that says, oh yeah, let's set up some details. Where do you want me to go? What do you want me to do? When I have to be there, what kind of panels do you want me to do? And it's like, oh god, I don't know what to do now.
Listen, man. I'm an English dub actor. The one thing I need is validation. Okay.
I know, and I cannot thank you enough. Like, this entire experience, getting a hold of you, and especially introducing you to VR chat as a whole has been. Your energy was absolutely infectious while we were on call when you were just going through the tutorial, and like all of us on staff, all the moderators.
Flay,
we love
Flay,
you.
get your butt over here, Flay. Get over here.
Wait,
That's right, I'm
why
calling
me?
you out.
What you?
Because come here. Get over here. Get to my left side. This is not. This is
Get over here. Get over here.
This is not a request. Look at this. Look at these two fine individuals. Look at the hair. Look at the eyes. Look at the assets. Look at the thigh highs. This is incredible. You people are so amazing and creative, and you've got huge tracts of land. It's amazing. It's fantastic.
Personalities. That's what you're gonna say. Huge personalities.
You've got huge amounts of influence on the community. That's precise. But no, like it's so cool. Like I love the creativity in this fandom. I don't know where I was going with that, but I like having friends. I felt lonely. There was no one on my left side. Now you're here. Also, I'm totally. I know that we have about like 20 minutes left. I'm cool if this runs over unless we have to leave, and I think it'll probably be better if we just do the whole panel for like questions, and then I'll do like, if people have voice requests for characters that I've done, we can just do that in like a casual lobby afterwards. I can hop around to a few different lobbies.
Okay, you still have time for well, if that's the case, we still have time for like a question or two.
Okay.
This one is from Timberwolf from Twitch. He asks, or they ask, sorry, what's your favorite food you're not allowed to eat before voice gigs due to what it does to your voice?
I am a huge fan of spicy food and seafood. And the two things that run right through my digestive system are spicy food and seafood. So I have to, they're a present for after I finish sessions, but I cannot have them the night before a session because I will wake up and I will end up in the bathroom for like 45 minutes and I'll be at risk of missing a session. It's not fun. It's not fun. But once the session is done, I am all about that Japanese curry. I'm all about like sriracha on spicy fried rice. I'm a total foodie. Like honestly, one of the things that I do whenever I guest at conventions in person is I ask the organizers if I can host what's called a dine and discuss. And it's literally that people who attend my panels get like a raffle ticket. And towards like on the second to last day of the con, usually Saturday night, we will pull a bunch of names that morning and invite them. And I'll take a group of anywhere from 5 to 10 people. I'll say, what is a local food place that you guys love to death? Take me there. And we'll all go together and I will pay for everyone's meals because it's my way of giving back to the community as a whole, but it also gives me a chance to eat food. And I love eating food. So that, like, heads up, if there's ever like an in-person convention that you guys invite me to a guest to, I would love to set one of those up and just have you guys like showcase your local eats to me because that is the quickest way to build a quick friendship with me. I've been crouched this whole time. Very tall now.
I'm stuck down here. I'm broken. Help.
Oh, I should. Am I still on this? Hold on. No,
Let's do one
Play.
more.
Stand up.
I don't know how it's broken.
Let's while you find it, let's move over. Let's
Just stand. It's
stop
VR.
the
Just
throne.
stand.
Yes.
Just stand, bro.
Yes.
It's broken. I have no idea.
There we go. I can finish this interview in my purest
thing is in
form,
mud.
my best form.
There,
Okay.
there, go.
Let's
Perfect.
see. I got one final question. This is from Vori. It's not what you think with the name. They go.
Darn, I was
Ever
hoping
just
we'd
go
get some
through a drive-
entertainment in here.
Ever just go through a drive-through using one of your voices, or just do a whole day with the voice of like Noob Saibot?
Doing the entire voice of Noob Saibot for a whole day would destroy me beyond repair. I would end up having to go on vocal rest for a day or two after a 2-hour session as Noob Saibot because it involves such a violent vibration of my throat. However, there was a time where during college, I was really bored and really hungry. So a group of friends and I drove to the McDonald's that was open 24/7, because that's one of the things the Midwest is good at, is having places that are open 24/7. Rip, I miss that so much. And we decided that we were going to turn my car into a pirate ship. And so every single one of us in the car was designated as, like, the pirate captain, the first mate, you know, the deck swabber. And we had to come up with our own name, backstory, and pirate accent. And while we placed our order, we were talking about our adventures on the high seas. We were ordering food using pirate terms. So, like, instead of a filet-o-fish, it was like a sea plank or something like that. It was like, we want your cod plank, you know, between the boards or something like that. And we ended up ordering about like $45 worth of food. What we didn't know was that because it was after midnight, it had actually become National Talk Like a Pirate Day. We had no idea that it was actually recognized as Talk Like a Pirate Day. And the staff working at the drive-thru were so entertained by our performance that they took 50% off of our order cost, and we wore the bags as hats back to our dorm.
Actually, that was a quick answer. I think I have time for one more then.
Yeah, no. We like I said, it's 1:48 right now. This is an hour long. Do you guys need like breakdown time? I don't know how these meet. I can go straight to 2 if you guys have
There'll be
time.
a little bit of in between times to switch between panels. So I think, but we have time for one more.
Okay.
This is from Bluetooth on Twitch chat. He says, as a notable visible industry professional, how do you balance your life in the furry fandom with your professional life? What benefits have you gleaned from having a furry audience? Do you consider your involvement in the furry fandom to be in any way a risk or liability to your career?
So there's a lot to unpack here. So I'll do my best to answer it in order. I'm gonna alt tab real quick so I can scroll this up and pause chat. So balancing isn't really something that I think about because it's just something that kind of happens organically. You know, I don't have time set aside for my career and time set aside for, you know, involving myself with the furry fandom. It's just whatever happens naturally. You know, there are colleagues of mine that identify as furries. There are colleagues of mine that are furry adjacent. There are projects I'm involved where I work directly with furries. There are conventions I get invited to where, you know, I'm involved as a guest. As I said, it is my professional career has helped me like get into the fandom more directly and interact with people. But I still do enjoy the fandom as like my own individual self as well. So, you know, I'll make time to go to conventions even if I'm not guesting. I was a frequent visitor to Biggest Little Fur Con. I am a lifelong member for Furry Week in Atlanta. I love going to to MFF. MFF is a little overwhelming for me, but it's still fun to just catch up with people who I normally wouldn't get to see otherwise. But outside of those, you know, a lot of what I do, I lurk a lot more than I actively post. You know, I love sharing art. You know, I love, you know, sharing the work of creators. I'm trying to think of another good example, but it's just these small interactions like right now, like working with you guys. What benefits have you gleaned from having a furry audience? To be honest, I don't think most people know that I'm like involved with the furry fandom. When I was one of the 2 guests of honor at Furry Week in Atlanta last year, alongside Karade, and no one actually recognized me. They didn't know me as Sean. They didn't know me as Sonic Mega. They didn't know me as Pommy, they only knew me as that guy who voiced Rivali. In fact, there was one moment where one of the staff members for FWA at a dinner we were all having together the following year went, "Hey, did you go to FWA 2019?" And I had to remind them that I was one of the guests of honor that they invited. So, that's one of the things I'm hoping that organically over time, as I get more involved with the fandom through the projects that I do, that maybe more people recognize that, it's like the astronauts in space. It's like, wait, you're involved with the fandom, and I cock the gun and go, always have been. But I'm hoping that people realize that I totally support you guys, and I want to see the community grow and become more mainstream. Not just for the sake of you guys getting the respect and admiration that you deserve, but also so I can see more creativity from the fandom getting put in the spotlight. Like, I know there's some projects. There's a lot of people who grew up within the fandom that are now working on things that are mainstream, like Ratchet and Clank. And I'm very glad to see that influence starting to as Song Redwood's pointing at me like, I know what you're talking about. And I love that it's finally getting to shine in the spotlight. Now, the last part, the interesting part, do you consider your involvement in the furry fandom to be in any way a risk or liability to your career? This is going to be a very good point to lead off of, because there are two very important parts. There's knowing what is worth sharing, and there's knowing how to share what you share. The first part is, obviously, there are aspects of the fandom that are totally harmless, that are super cute. There's art that I'll share all the time. And I'm sure that there's people in this audience, on this staff, who have aspects of the fandom they enjoy that maybe they don't want to share with the public on a regular basis. And it's about having the forethought to understand what is reasonable and professional to be open about. And it's not a matter of, being accepted for enjoying or for being having that as a hobby or as a preference. It's about what's appropriate to share with the public at large. And that's just being part of being mature and being professional. But the other half, and this is the part that's very important for you guys as individuals, is how you present yourself when someone asks you about something that you're interested in. And the case in point is, I'll just throw an example of bringing up going to a convention. Like if someone says, "Hey, where were you at last weekend?" You're like, "Oh, I was at this convention." And they go, "Oh, what convention?" There's one of two ways people can respond. You get the people who go, "Oh, it was this thing called BLFC. It was these people with animal costumes, and I was just there to hang out with friends and drink. I'm not part of that. That's a little weird." And then there's the part of the people who go, "Oh, dude, I went to it's this biggest little fur con. These people that really enjoy anthropomorphic animals, and they dress up as like their creations, and they have these awesome parties." How you respond to questions people ask gives them social cues on how they should be treating you. If you act shameful or embarrassed in your answer, you are giving them the cue that what you are talking about is something that you should be ashamed of. And it kind of teaches them that they should be shaming you for it. Whereas if you act confident and you embrace it, and you talk positively about it and how you've had fun with it, you would be surprised at the number of people who may not even be involved in the fandom who go, "Huh, that sounds pretty dope. Like, you should tell me about it sometime, or where can I find out more about this?" I know that on multiple occasions when I went to BLFC, was it BLFC or no? It was Further Confusion. Further Confusion would always happen during the women's volleyball tournament that was happening on the other side of the building. And I know for a fact there were volleyball moms who ditched their daughters to come drink with us on the party floor after the volleyball events were over. And the reason was because, even if they gawked, some people's response would be like, "Hey, we've got a party floor at 6 p.m. Come join us." And they would just totally embrace it. So be aware of your own physical behavior. If you act like it's something that's fun and enjoyable and welcoming, I think you'll find that a lot more people are receptive to it and treat it positively versus if you act embarrassed. So you have direct control over how people view both the fandom and your involvement in it. And
That was a really good
I'll leave the
answer.
room-
Absolutely.
Thank you for that.
No, we are a little bit. That was a very good answer. Sonic, we really appreciate you doing this AMA. I have talked to a few people, and we're going to get you into one of the worlds, so that way you can do voice lines for anyone else to, you're going to have people that are going to meet you as well, and I'm sure it's going to be all a good around experience. Sora, do you want to
For sure.
go up there and call him off and thank
Absolutely.
him?
So, yeah. Are we... Go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to say, from all the staff and volunteers and from all the attendees, we want to just deeply just thank you for the opportunity to have you come out and hang out with us and just share these stories and tips and just this infectious, chaotic, awesome energy that you just bring to everything that you do.
That's a good way to describe it. I hope it was equal amounts entertaining and insightful. I feel like there was good questions, by the way. Thank you for curating those. But I hope there was a nice mix of getting to just geek out about stuff about both the fandom and my career, and also a nice mix of stuff that was just fun and stuff that was like really insightful and educational.
Yeah, I think it is. There's always stuff that I want to touch on, like in industry, but I think you covered all the bases, and from the chats, it looked like everybody took away something and got a lot of questions answered and really, really enjoyed the stories.
Yeah. All right. So I guess we'll figure out a lobby when we want to pop into. I can easily dedicate another hour. I thought this was going to go for 2, and I can answer more questions in a casual way. I can look into doing some voice requests, but let's figure something out.
Yeah,
absolutely.
for sure. We have Furality instances dedicated to this already, so there are people already waiting
cool.
and ready to meet you, and it's all planned out. And no worries, everyone knows
Oh,
to
are we still
join those
live
instances.
right now? Because I saw something in chat.
Yeah,
I wanted
yeah.
to correct if we're still live. Kazuma, just so you know,
please do. Go ahead.
I was in Dust as the voice of Sanjin, but I was not the voice of Dust. That was Lucian Dodge, who also is one of the main characters in Beastars, which you should also check out because it's an incredible dub. All right.
Right. Yeah, and all of our attendees know to look at the worlds under the event panel. It's very easy to join, and we will obviously be traveling around it with you, Sonic, making sure everything is all good, and you will be able to meet fans and do voice lines and yada yada. So, again, thank you for coming, and this is a great AMA, and we are going to move on to the next panel. Thank you again, Sonic.
Take care, everybody.
Sean.
What's up?